Start recording. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the ScruffyMovies podcast. I'm Zach Wallace.
And I'm John Crocker.
Today is going to be a very interesting one. It's one that I have been excited about for a little while because I absolutely love theories and speculation and rumors and trying to figure out all these movies, especially big superhero movies, before they come out. I feel like I have a certain knowledge and smartness about what I'm thinking and like what I can come up with. And so I really just like digging into the little nuggets that they give us and seeing what can come out. So this episode's going to be all about Crocker and I speculating on crazy stuff we've heard, stuff we've come up with, stuff we're excited to see, what we want to see, all about Marvel Phase 4.
Zach with the smartness.
Yeah, I knew it when I said it. I was like, smartness. I don't know if that's the right word, and it's probably going to make me sound dumb, but, you know, that's just what it is.
I think we have a few theories here on Endgame, and it's probably best to get up and running with that, chat through those a little bit here, yes, because that's really the elephant in the room. And then, of course, we'll have halftime and some awesome things coming up there, and then maybe close it out with all of the other movies that are going to be coming out as part of the Marvel universe, but maybe not necessarily as top of mind as Endgame is right now for everyone. Right.
So, do you have any interesting Endgame speculation to kick it off with?
Well, you know, as I was going through and preparing for this episode, as I often say, I consulted the Googles because it was sort of difficult to actually recall exactly where we left off with the last Avengers movie. Even though we've seen it, when everyone starts turning to dust, it's like I can never remember who did and who didn't. So
I'll tell you right now, I can get it probably a pretty good order too.
Well, you know what? I have gone to the links of actually writing down a list. So I'm going to cruise through this real quick.
Okay.
And let me know if I've made any mistakes.
Okay.
There are a lot of Avengers. There are a ton of people.
Yes.
Ant-Man survived.
Yes.
Wasp died.
Yes.
Iron Man survived.
Yes.
But is floating through space on a ship?
Floating through space with Nebula. And as we've seen in that little in-game teaser trailer, their food and oxygen have run out and nobody knows where they are. So who knows who's going to rescue him, but I'm sure he'll get rescued. They aren't just going to have Iron Man die from floating in space and starving.
Thor also survives.
Yep.
Black Widow survives.
Mm-hmm.
Hawkeye survives.
Mm-hmm.
Doctor Strange dies.
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man dies.
Mm-hmm.
Captain America survives.
Mm-hmm.
Hulk survives. Scarlet Witch dies. Vision dies. Black Panther dies. For the Guardians of the Galaxy, only Rocket and Nebula survive.
Mm-hmm.
Bucky dies. Falcon dies. War Machine survives. Loki and Heimdall are dead. Shuri is dead, as seen in the trailer. She was counted in the dead, though we did not see her actually disappear.
I don't know if she's dead or if she's missing. She might just be missing because that Ant-Man was also in those pictures, and we know that he's alive. So that might be missing persons.
Good call.
We also saw Peter Parker, and unless Iron Man was able to get back to Earth or send some kind of signal back to Earth, which it seems like he hasn't yet, he would also be one of the missing people. They just don't know where he went. Everyone that went with him is dead or lost in space.
And then Fury is dead.
Yes, and Maria Hill. Captain Marvel is alive.
Yep, Captain Marvel is alive. So that sort of concludes my list. So I think if I have all of that correct,
yes,
then we'll be able to move forward. I have a master list of where we're at now with who is dead and who is alive.
Yes, I believe all of that is correct.
Okay. So as far as my theory, and I feel like mine's going to be like way more vanilla than yours is, as per usual. So I'm going to go ahead and dive off into this because it will be more interesting to hear your stuff come afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
I think that what is going to happen is actually going to be quite boring. I think that it has potential to go down the comic book route, which we've talked about before, where basically Hulk and Thor end up being the two that kind of save the day because Thanos locks them in, I believe, some sort of prison. A lot of time goes by, potentially thousands of years. Hulk gets angrier as time goes by, which makes him stronger, and Thor is basically Odin at that time, at which point they kick ass, grab the time stone, rewind everything, and everybody goes about their merry little business. Now, at this point, we see that Black Panther 2 is definitely happening, if nothing else, than because the world demands it.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point, he'll have to live. Same with Spider-Man. So unless both of those are a prequel, then we know that eventually the people that were dusted are going to be rewound. Now, whether or not everyone survives, I don't know. I know you feel like they're probably going to kill some people off,
Mm-hmm.
but I know that at least the big event will be undone. And I honestly think that they're going to send them off into the sunset, which I would prefer. I would prefer for them to retire most of the Avengers as opposed to totally killing them off in the storyline. Like with Stark, I'm pretty sure, didn't we see like a teaser that like Pepper is pregnant or something?
It's heavily rumored. I don't know if it's come out or anything yet, but yeah, it's rumored that she's pregnant because of this, like the opening scene of them talking about it in Infinity War.
I think they're going to Paul Walker him. I think they're going to do what they did with Brian, and they're going to send him off into the sunset, and they're going to be like, all right, Stark is taking care of his family for a while, just had a baby. Like, we might hear from him. We might still be able to get some of his weapons and his armor and things like that. But, he's not the new class of Avengers. So I think they're going to sunset him with the family thing. I think that oh my goodness, I can't recall the name of where Thor and Odin and Loki and all them are from. What's the name of the magical place?
Asgard.
Asgard. I feel like Thor, because Asgard is in ruins at this point, right?
Yeah, it's
Thor
toast.
is basically going to take over as Odin and potentially like rebuild and do the whole I've got to go take care of, my dimension for a while type of thing. I really think it's going to be a big bow out by all of the old school Avengers. And I hope, even with like Captain America, that you're still going to see him doing like training videos in the background, and we're still going to have Stark dipping in to, give them different types of armor and suits and things like that moving forward, sort of use them as resources, but not actually have them as active members in the Avengers. And I know that's like super vanilla and that it might be a lot more kick-ass if they actually get taken out and die in some, crazy elaborate style. But I really see it being more as a passing of the torch after this huge event. Now, what I want to know is when they undo the snap, is it basically like we're going back in time to when before the snap happened, and no one other than the people that went through the time travel, maybe like Doctor Strange or whoever it is, are they the only ones that are going to be aware that the snap even did happen? Or are we going to bring people back and then be fully aware that they were dusted? Because if that's the case, then in like Spider-Man, the next Spider-Man movie, I wanted to say Homecoming, but it's not Homecoming. It's what, Far Away from Home or something like that?
From Home.
Far From Home. That entire movie should basically just be one PTSD event if he remembered the fact that he got dusted. So, you know what I mean? Same thing with Black Panther. Like, you could almost not go about your daily life without referring back to it somehow. And if Aunt May like knew that half the world just went missing and she actually remembered that, like, would she let Peter go all the way over to Europe? I don't know. I feel like he wouldn't be able to leave the house. So that's kind of where my mind is at right now. And I know it's kind of plain Jane, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. What are your thoughts on that?
It is a very interesting point. I do agree with you on a lot of stuff you made. I do think that there is a reason why the original 6 Avengers made it, and just like a few others but I think that there was a reason why the main crew that we've known since the first Avengers movie survived. And I think that's because Avengers 4 is going to be the swan song for a lot of them. It's going to be their last like big outing as characters. And like you said, they could keep popping up and stuff like that, but I think it's going to be their last big one. I'm not as optimistic as you in the fact that I think that a lot of them are going to die. I've seen rumors that only 2 of the original 6 are going to survive this. And people are like piecing together other little clips and stuff like that from all kinds of other Marvel movies, which, as we know, they use to set up stuff that happens later. For instance, Doctor Strange giving the line, "We're in the Endgame now," to Iron Man in Infinity War. So they knew that the next movie was going to be called Avengers Endgame, but nobody else knew at that point. And so I've seen people piecing stuff together. There was a scene from Civil War where people on Cap's team were talking, and they're like, "Cap, if we're going to win this, some of us are going to have to lose." And it's all this stuff from Age of Ultron where Iron Man's like, "We have to win." And Iron Man says something like, "Well, what if we lose?" And Captain America's like, "Well, then we'll do that together too." And so it's all this kind of stuff where people think the original 6 are going to be taken out. And I think if the rumor's true that 2 of the 6 survive, I think that Hulk is going to survive because that presents,
Yeah, Hulk and Thor, the 2 that have to survive, right?
That's exactly what I think. And I think Thor, even if he wasn't one of the original ones to survive, is now, because they definitely, after Thor Ragnarok and Infinity War, like they've just hit their stride with Thor. So I think that they have gone back and like reshot to make Thor survive, even if he wasn't one of the originals in the beginning. And I think just for Hulk, that would present a lot of very interesting story opportunities. He's like, because his whole thing, I mean, when we first meet Bruce Banner in the Avengers, the Mark Ruffalo Bruce Banner, he's already talked about he tried to kill himself. He put a bullet in his head and the other guy spit it out, as he put it.
Yeah.
So that presents a lot of really interesting story opportunities for him of like, why was I the one that lived? All of my friends are dead. I wanted to sacrifice myself. Why do I get to live and they don't? Now, go for it.
I was just going to say that Black Widow and Hawkeye are counted in the original 6, correct?
Yes, they are.
We know that Black Widow is getting what I want to say movie, but I think it was a TV show she's getting.
No, it's a movie, but it's a prequel movie set in the 90s.
So it is a period piece.
Yes, which makes me think, okay, they're keeping the character, they're keeping the actor. No need for her to still be around modern day. Black Widow's gone.
Oh, that's so sad. I mean, don't get me wrong. Every period piece that the Marvel has so far has been like some of their best movies. And we all know that I am dying to know what happened with Hawkeye in Guarma or Bangladesh or wherever they were.
Budapest.
I
feel like that's like the running joke of this show, of you trying to remember Budapest and just throwing out a bunch of random countries.
Yeah, at least I'm getting closer with the bees.
Yeah, you're getting closer. You're getting technically closer, but then also farther away. You're just going to farther away countries. Hopes to hit.
Well, I do want to know what happens there, but it would be so weird if they kill him off and then they're like, "Oh, by the way, here's 2 years down the line, we're going to have a prequel featuring those people." Like, that just seems like you're keeping them around. I don't know. I don't know. I don't feel like they're going to kill off Iron Man and Captain America. Like, they mean too much. They've got too many fans.
I don't know. I mean, nobody's ever dead. Phil Coulson died in the first Avengers movie. Like, he was dead. Like, Marvel Studios executives were like, "Yep, dead." And then the fan outcry was so heavy that they brought him back, and he's in season 7 of his own television series. So I don't think anybody's ever really dead. There's no way that they just couldn't bring them back. If they really wanted to, they totally could.
That's true. And this is, at the end of the day, a comic book universe. And comic books are synonymous for never actually being dead.
Right. And so I think that Hawkeye and Black Widow are at the exact right stage, which is sad to say, where you care about them enough, but if they die, you're not totally taken out of the movie. It's kind of the same role that Loki and Heimdall played in Infinity War, letting you know that this movie isn't playing around, people are going to die, but after the first scene was over, you weren't like, I have to go home, I can't live my life without Loki and Heimdall anymore, whereas some people might feel that about Iron Man and Captain America.
I mean, I was pretty upset with Heimdall. He was one of my favorite characters in the entire universe.
I know. Idris Elba was severely underused, and that is an entirely different podcast that we could get into. But yes, I agree with you.
And I love how now everyone also refers to Heimdall as Thor's best friend. But in all of the movies leading up to the last movie, it was really like he was just the keeper of the gate. You know, he was sort of that role, and Thor had his own little crew of ragtag, you know,
Warriors 3 and the Lady Sif.
Exactly, the Warriors 3 and yes. So I don't know. I think he was underused. I think when he died off, everybody was like, "Oh, Thor's best friend," you know, like that type of thing. Even though in the lore, maybe he was Thor's best friend, in the movies, definitely not positioned as Thor's best friend.
Oh, yeah, I remember even in Infinity War watching it the first time, and Thor's like, he killed my brother and my best friend. And I was like, oh my gosh, wow, he called Loki his best friend. And my wife leaned over and she's like, Loki and Heimdall. And I was like, what? Oh, yeah, I guess.
That's hilarious.
So I think that a lot of people are going to die. I don't know necessarily if Captain America and Iron Man are going to die. I think one or the other is going to die, and that's going to present the other one with the opportunity to make amends with them and say, like, hey, it wasn't right for us to be fighting. You know, we're family, we're brothers, and for them to finally come together, because even when they were working together in the Avengers, they were never very close. They never really understood each other's points, but they realized that they needed to ally themselves to fight the bigger threat. But now that that's directly come to a head since Captain America Civil War, I think that this movie is going to present the opportunity for them to reconnect and rekindle that relationship and realize that they were much more on the same page this entire time than they thought that they were. I've seen a lot of other rumors flying around. I've seen Ant-Man gets out of the quantum realm. He figures out how to harness the quantum realm to do some time travel. They end up time traveling and taking the Infinity Stones before Thanos can get to them, basically setting an alternate universe course. So everything we've known up into the MCU at this point is going to be totally different because they're on a completely opposite track now because the Avengers are messing with time. And that's going to more or less reset things to let them kind of refresh after 10 years, and they can just get started on a new timeline. None of the rules have to be the same, anything like that. They can just go wherever they want to go with it.
I understand that, but I think they've done such an excellent job with stitching together the chronologically, what's the word I'm looking for? You know what I mean, of the Marvel's universe, that if they were to use the branching universe, like it's almost like a crutch is what I want to call it, just to be able to do kind of a soft reset, I feel like that would be a crutch move. Is they have the ability and they've done so well keeping everything stitched together so perfectly that I don't want to see them take the easy way out when it comes to branching universes.
Oh, I agree. I don't want them to do that. For everything, like I'm just such a big fan of continuity and like all like little tiny references and stuff, because I feel like the more you watch, the more you get that kind of stuff, the more you can enjoy it. So just the fact to know, like, the Punisher, for instance, takes place in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a whole is really cool for me to watch the Punisher and try and pick up on little things they might drop in. So I hope they don't do that. I'm a big fan of what they've created so far, and I really hope that they keep it going. That being said, I don't know if they're going to. I hope that they do, but I just don't know. The last thing I had, and it's something that I was kind of hoping we were going to get an Infinity War, because I was building Infinity War up in my head to be like the end-all, be-all of this franchise so far, but it's not. Endgame is going to be. So it makes sense that they would save this scene, but there is a very famous scene in the comics where Thanos is very close to completing his goal, Captain America stands up, bloodied and beaten. His shield is broken. And he basically gives a speech saying that as long as one man stands in his way, he'll never be able to reach his goal. He'll never have the full control that he wants to. And I really want to see that scene. I would love if that scene was tied into a Avengers Assemble scene, which I think we're finally going to get in this movie. I think we're going to get Captain America or Iron Man or some variation of the two saying Avengers Assemble. And I just want one scene, which has been hinted at by people dropping like little slips in interviews and stuff, of it's going to be everybody, every hero, everybody assembled together fighting Thanos and his army of Outriders.
God, that just gave me chills.
Yeah, and that's, I don't remember who said it. It might have been like Anthony Mackie or something like that, but there's been a couple people that have like let slip, and like Anthony Mackie's been like, oh yeah, you know, it was a really fun day when we had everybody there. I mean, you just think about how far this franchise has come. You look around, you see Michelle Pfeiffer, Michael Douglas, like all these people that he hasn't been in a movie with yet. He was talking about being in a scene with. So
yeah, but he could have been talking about them doing like a huge dinner one night where they got the entire cast and crew together for the entire MCU and had like a banquet or something.
He was specifically talking about like on set, like they were shooting a scene. He's like, it's crazy to be shooting that scene and seeing all these people there. So that's what makes me think there's going to be one scene, and it'll probably be like the final battle in the movie. Everybody is going to be assembled.
Which, you know, talking about everybody being assembled, I guess at this point, you know, you got me thinking about something with the Ant-Man and the quantum realm dealio, because he was really the only one that just wasn't present in the last movie, correct? Mm-hmm. So if they roll back time and they're like, oh snap, and they're like, oh darn, we need to go get Ant-Man because, you know, he could do something crazy this go round that we weren't able to do last go round after they turn the clock back, then he is sort of that wild card where they know he exists now. He wasn't really in the big fight, and then maybe whatever he brings to the table in the second iteration of the fight after they rewind time, if that's even the way it's going to go down, he could sort of be the fulcrum that changes the course of the battle.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly how it's going to go. And I've even seen some people go in depth on the Endgame trailer where it shows Ant-Man standing outside, and he's like, hey, yeah, we met in Germany a couple years ago. They zoom in on when it says that recording was recorded, and it was recorded in like 1983 or something like that, which prompts why Captain America asks Black Widow, is this an old recording? And that's how it gets all figured out that Ant-Man is able to time travel. He's in 1983 talking about events that happened in 2015. And so they seek out Ant-Man, and they're like, we can use you and your power and save the universe, basically. We can bring everybody back by doing this.
Watch there be like a like Tony Stark rescue kit with like food and an emergency beacon that just like appears on the ship because they rolled back time, found the ship, put the whatever it is in it, you know? Like, I hope they don't get that hooky with it.
I don't think they will. I don't think they're going to go full like Bill and Ted with it, where they're like, we'll put the keys right here and then turn and the keys will be there. I don't think they're going to go that far with it.
Speaking of Bill and Ted, aren't we supposed to be getting a third one? Didn't they say they were shooting that with Keanu Reeves?
Yeah, well, I don't know if they're shooting it, but yeah, it's been long in the pipeline, and apparently it's getting very closer than it ever has been before.
When that day comes, we will absolutely do a Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure podcast.
Oh, for sure. I love Bill and Ted.
So, also, Tony, is it the ship that Rocket stole? Is that the one that he's in?
I think it's the one that Nebula stole, because Nebula, if you remember, they're all on Titan fighting, and then Nebula comes late because she had to escape Thanos' compound. So she comes late and crashes the ship into Thanos. And I think that's the one that they're using, because the one that Iron Man and Doctor Strange and Spider-Man all flew there basically was ripped to shreds on landing.
So does it stand that Rocket might go looking for the rest of his crew if he doesn't know what happened to them and eventually find Stark?
I think so. I think that is the most plausible explanation we would have for Tony Stark being rescued as it stands right now. I think that Rocket and Nebula have some kind of connection, or Nebula knows like what channel to hack into to get to Rocket, and she'll be like, "Hey, we need help. Come find us at this signal." Yes, I think that's very possible.
This movie's going to have to be 4 hours long. Like, how can they possibly cover everything that needs to happen?
It's rumored that it's going to be about 3 hours. The runtime will be about 3 hours long.
I just don't think 3 hours is enough.
I know, and that's what everybody I've seen just like some casual fans that are like, "Oh man, I don't know if I can make it through 3 hours." And I was like, "Dude, give me 9 hours. If you give me 15-minute bathroom breaks, I'm good. Like,
yeah, for real.
Give it to me."
Like, just go ahead and make it a double feature. Like, shoot it with the intention of having an interim,
Yeah, I don't give me whatever you're going to get. Any deleted scene, you're like, this kind of stops the movie. I don't put it in. Put it in and release it. Give it to me.
For real. I'll take 6 hours, please.
Yes. Just give me whatever length you want to make it. I'm good. I'm in. And I've said this on podcasts before. Marvel has me. For the rest of my life, when a Marvel movie comes out, I will be there. And so it doesn't matter the length, the actors, the story, the plot, whatever's going on. When a movie comes out, I will be there. And so they can make it any length they want. I'm there.
I mean, there's so many people to rescue and to undo, and then you're going to have to spend a little bit of time on just decompressing and putting together a plan after the events of the last movie. Yeah. Then you've actually got to go rescue everybody, and then you've got to put together the new plan with the new people, and you've got to execute said new plan, and then you've got to wrap up the movie. Like, that's a 6-act movie.
Yeah, and and big characters might be dying in between. We're going to see characters return from the dead in between. What does that mean for them? Do they remember the snap? Do they not remember the snap?
Oh, so many things.
Yeah, there's a lot of unanswered questions, which Marvel has made. They've done very well at being like, "Oh yeah, just see Endgame," and then not releasing anything to us. Even in that teaser trailer, it just shows you the people that we already knew were alive, and that they're like, "It's probably going to be a plan." But other than that,
the biggest thing with the teaser trailer is this whole Shuri dealio, where they're like, "Is she counted among the missing, or is she dead?" Mm-hmm. And it's like, they're not giving you a lot to go on at all when one photo of a relatively minor character in the Avengers arc, not necessarily the Black Panther arc, is like what you're actually concerned about. Like, that's how little they gave us, is that that one photo is really what people are clinging on to.
Well, and that might not even be true anyway. Marvel's been known to edit their trailers to keep spoilers out. Like, when they didn't want you to know that Spider-Man was going to be in the airport scene in Civil War, they edited Spider-Man out of all of the clips that they showed of the airport scene, the trailers and everything. They edited him out so that you wouldn't see him.
Well, yeah, they're known to not to just remove things so that you don't have a spoiler, but purposefully misdirect, which is an entirely different thing, and most big productions, I feel like, will do that. It's certainly done with other gigantic franchises where they just totally mislead you on purpose. But at the end of the day, you kind of don't mind it, because when you actually sat down and watched the movie, you're like, well, okay, I get it. It kind of wouldn't have been as good if I knew that was coming,
Yeah, and I'm a person who, it's weird because I don't mind surprises, but I don't really like them either. If the information is available to me, I'd rather just go ahead and get the information. So I've been bad. I've gotten better about it, but I've been bad to just I'm not going to look up any spoilers, nothing. I'm going to go into this movie fresh. And then 2 days before, I'm like, I can't wait. What are the spoilers for this movie? And so I just get it spoiled for me. And so Marvel, and this is the same thing they did with Infinity War, they just released it everywhere on Earth on the same day. So no spoilers had gotten out by that point.
Yeah, I was happy that they did that, because there's nothing worse than watching a bootleg copy all in Chinese while you're reading subtitles because you just can't wait 48 hours for it to come out stateside.
Yeah, I'm really glad that they did that.
Totally. Oh, what does that sound mean?
That sound means it's halftime.
Woo-hoo! We've got big news, something special today.
Big news. So last episode, if you listened to it, I mentioned that we are going to be doing a months upon months of digital code giveaways. Well, our first digital code giveaway is officially here. Starting this episode, we will be giving away a digital code every episode, kind of for the foreseeable future. I have a lot on backstock. So to kind of relate to what we're talking about today, our first digital code we're going to give away is Thor Ragnarok. Now, if you're interested in winning this digital code for free, all you have to do is use the code word KORG, K-O-R-G. Comment below on YouTube or send it to myself on Instagram at ScruffyMovies. You can DM me. I will check them. Next week, we're going to put everybody who sent us the code word in some form into a drawing, and we're going to draw your name. We'll contact you. We'll get you your digital code for free, and we hope you all enjoy. So that's how we're going to run things. Just, again, type in the code word KORG, K-O-R-G, below on YouTube, or send it to me directly in a DM at ScruffyMovies on Instagram. We will get you all entered. We'll draw your name, and one of you will win a free digital code.
Awesome. I'm excited that we're actually making that happen this week and for future weeks as well.
Yeah, I'm not kidding around when I say that I have a lot of digital codes to get through, and by the time we get through all of these digital codes, I'm probably going to have even more digital codes to get through. So it's just going to be never ending.
Awesome. So that was a break from our traditional halftime dealio here. Are we still planning on doing some exciting news in the movie universe?
Oh, I've got all kinds of stuff written down.
Okay, good. Well, I don't have all kinds of stuff, so I'm going to go first.
Okay.
I've seen a few trailers this week that have gotten me quite excited. Mm-hmm. First and foremost is Black Earth Rising. Have you heard of that?
No.
So it is a new John Goodman movie, and it's as far as I can tell from the trailer, it's about like the genocide in Rwanda, and there's another actress who seems to play a huge role. I did not jot down her name, but it does look like a pretty awesome movie, kind of Blood Diamond style, if I had to guess from the trailer. And I always kind of dig that type of stuff with John Goodman. I think he does a good job. Polar is another one, which seems to be like some spy versus spy action, and I'm always into those type of caper movies, although this definitely seems like it's more of like an action flick versus like an actual spy movie. And then to sort of wrap it up, of course, you can't not mention the Ghostbusters teaser that we got.
Yes. That was another thing I'd written down for my halftime was Ghostbusters, because I heard the announcement and I was like, oh, cool. I'll believe it when I see it. And then I think that they probably thought a lot of people were going to think like that, because Ghostbusters 3 has been in development since the early 1990s. And so they were very smart by showing like, oh no, it's not just in development. Like, we've started. It's coming out next year, by releasing that teaser trailer, because it gave me nothing but questions that I need answered as soon as possible. I'm very curious about it. And also Ernie Hudson, who played Winston in the original Ghostbusters, has said that everyone has been contacted from the original Ghostbusters to come back. And from what he said, from what he's kind of heard, the original Ghostbusters cast is kind of jazzed up about it. And so they might be coming back.
Yeah, that was kind of my, biggest question. Like, is it going to be the original three, like, or is it going to be another movie, sort of like what they tried to do a couple of years ago in the greater Ghostbusters universe, where maybe Ernie Hudson and the boys come back to Dan Aykroyd to say some things, give some advice, and then they're just kind of like the guys who have been there before? Or is it like we're going to get to see him say, boys, it's time to like suit and boot again. We got to get our hands dirty once more to save the universe, kind of thing?
I hope I hope that it's the latter. And if we've seen anything in the past couple years, it's that people love returns like that. Like Logan, one of the highest grossing films in the X-Men universe, one of the best well-received movies in the X-Men universe, is all about how Wolverine is so old, can't fight anymore, but he's like, I have to fight once more. And so it's a little different. We've seen Wolverine on film in less of a time gap than we've seen the original Ghostbusters, but I feel like the sentiment still rings pretty true, and that I wouldn't mind seeing like the newer guys, them kind of training people, kind of being like a passing of the torch, passing of the proton pack. I wouldn't mind seeing the new guys in there with them, but I definitely think end of day, people are coming to see Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd and Ernie Hudson, and hopefully Rick Moranis, if they're able to kind of get him out of retirement, back in the Ghostbusters universe fighting ghosts.
Rick Moranis, the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids guy?
Yeah. He was in the first two.
God, I need to go back and rewatch Ghostbusters.
Yeah, he was the guy who was possessed other than Sigourney Weaver. He was the one running around that was like, I am the keymaster. Are you the gatekeeper?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
He was definitely not one of the Ghostbusters. I was about to say, you're making me rethink everything I know right now.
In the second one, I believe he thinks he helps them when I think it's the Empire State Building or something is like where all the bad juju's going down at the end of the second movie, and he's like, I'm gonna go help my buddies, and he puts on like an old Ghostbusters outfit and gets on a proton pack, and he like runs up to the building and just starts shooting the building with a proton pack laser, like not helping them inside at all. And it just so happens that they figure out the problem inside, and so all of the goo blast off the building, and he's like, oh my god, I did it. He thinks it's like all him. It's really funny.
In the world of like movie props, because I'm a movie prop junkie, the proton pack is one of those things that I do eventually want to own. Like, the trap, I really want one.
And you can see people walking around cons that got like, they put like spark generators and stuff in their proton pack. So like when they fire the pistol, like their packs start lighting up. It's crazy, like the depth some people go into to make that kind of stuff like movie accurate.
I just want to see Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray like actually lead a Ghostbusters movie and it be just the same as they used to be, like no passing of the torch, no nothing, just like, God, what's the movie where all the old guys go rob the bank and it's like their last hurrah, like that type of a movie, like last hurrah movie where we might be too old for this, but we got to go save the world. I want to see Bill Murray leading a movie again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down. So I'm very excited because it's also directed by Jason Reitman, who's the son of Ivan Reitman, who directed the first two Ghostbusters movies as well.
Oh, that's cool. I had no idea.
Mm-hmm. So that was a big one on my halftime. Also, the John Wick 3 trailer dropped. It's called John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum. That looks awesome because it's about the entire underground assassin organization that John Wick is a part of coming after him, because he's been, as they say in the trailer, he's been excommunicado. He's gone excommunicado or something like that. So it's literally the entire assassination organization coming after him. And there was a really cool line in the trailer where somebody's like, he has 100,000 guys after him or something like that. And he's like, do you think that's very fair? And he's like, well, maybe get another 100,000 and then we'll call it even or something like that. And it's just crazy. I'm very excited for that. I love the John Wick movies. Something you might get a kick out of, I don't know if you've seen the news or not, it's rumored, and I think that if Detective Pikachu does very good, these are going to be put in the pipeline very quickly. Pokemon Red and Pokemon Blue movies are coming out.
What?
Live action. And I kind of heard a little bit, just like digging into comments and stuff, some people were speculating like, whoa, what if they release them on the same day even?
Right, because they dropped at the same time.
Right. What if they just drop both movies the same Friday?
See, dude, this is what I'm talking about. In today's world where movies are dwindling and people that are going to the theater is just plummeting with the rise of Netflix and everything else that you can get at home, this is the type of cool stuff that it's going to take to shake up the medium and shake up this type of media. and dropping 2 movies on the very same day as part of that might be a very, very expensive flop, or it could be that ripple in the water that we need to get some actual like cool, new, really defining, like, industry defining stuff to happen.
Oh, I think it would make a lot of money. I'm not even that big of a Pokemon fan, but I'm like, damn, like that. It's just like, it's history. It's cinematic history. That's never happened where a franchise has dropped 2 huge box office movies same day and been like, hey, go see both of them on Friday. We're going to have double features playing. If you want to just go see red, you can go see red. If you want to just go see blue, you can go see blue. But we got double features. We got all this kind of crazy stuff going on with them. Like, that's insane to me. That's a part of history. That's never happened before. So if those movies dropped, guaranteed I'd be there to double feature. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Pokemon's one of those where, like, Pokemon is not one of those movies where you can say nobody can screw that up. Like, you can screw up Pokemon in live action if you don't do it right. Like, I've never seen a live action Pokemon. So they would have to hit the nail on the head. But if they hit the nail on the head and drop 2 movies on the same day, oh my goodness, dude, that would be the biggest thing ever.
Yeah, it's going to blow up. But yeah, I didn't know if you'd heard about that or not. I just heard about it kind of late last night and was like, oh, I need to remember to talk about that because that's going to make Crocker very excited. Last thing I have for my halftime, Punisher Season 2 dropped on Friday. We've been going through that. It's really awesome. Punisher is my favorite of the like Netflix Marvel shows. So if you guys are into any of those, if you're into the Punisher, I highly suggest watching that. It's been very good so far. We're only a couple of episodes in, but it has been as good or better than season 1 so far. It's very good. So I would suggest watching that.
Awesome.
Okay, let's jump back into the regular conversation.
All right. So regular conversation. So let's move forward away from Endgame a little bit. What do you say?
Yeah, let's go for it. I think we got all of our Endgame stuff out.
So who are the Eternals and why have I never heard of them?
You've asked me a question I don't know the answer to, and
okay. that happens rarely.
Yeah, I'm not as well versed in comic book lore as I am in movie lore. So had the Eternals appeared in a movie before, I could tell you at least a little something about them. But as a comic book franchise, I have no idea.
And that's kind of where I'm at as well on the Eternals, as well as on Shang-Chi, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correct.
Yeah.
Which seems to be another movie coming down the pike, because at this point, I foresee that, and this, I'm just going to kind of lay all this out there, that we're getting Endgame, we're getting the Spider-Man movie that we've already got a trailer for, the Black Widow movie, which we hope is a period piece, Black Panther 2, which the world demands, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, where I hope to God they use James Gunn's script, Doctor Strange 2, which they've said is also in the works, and then you've got the Eternals as well as Shang-Chi or Kai or something, which not very familiar with either one of those. And then, of course, we've got all of the TV shows that are coming on board with the new streaming service that's happening. We've got the entire X-Men universe, where I swear we were going to get a Gambit and a Dark Phoenix film, but maybe not anymore. There's Deadpool, Fantastic Four, X-Men. There's so many other things that are happening with Marvel that are outside or potentially going to be rolled into the MCU. And I know that you had some things you wanted to mention about all of those, so take her away.
First off, for Gambit, that's been long in development for a while. They had Channing Tatum attached to play Gambit, and I believe he was an executive producer for a long time, but now with the Fox shift and being sold to Disney, I don't believe that movie is going to be being made anymore. If it does, I don't think it's going to be like the same crew as it was.
Channing Tatum was going to be an executive producer.
Yeah.
I thought he was still like very firmly in the role of like, hey, pretty boy, go read a script on camera and we'll make money. Like,
no, Channing Tatum, Jonah Hill, if you listen to 21 Jump Street or 22 Jump Street commentaries, Jonah Hill is he's like, because Jonah Hill was like, I thought that too, And then he just came in and we were like, okay, improv this scene. And he just ripped it to shreds. Like he is a lot smarter than the movies he's been in makes him seem.
Okay. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I'm jaded by the character that he gets cast as and everything.
But that I don't believe is probably going to be being made anymore. Fox did have 2 X-Men movies basically already made, which was Dark Phoenix, which was supposed to come out, I believe, in May of 2018, and it got pushed back to like May of this year now, but I haven't heard anything else about it, so I don't know if it's going to be being pushed back or not. And then The New Mutants, which is a horror movie set in the X-Men universe, which was supposed to come out in February of last year, was pushed back to March of this year, and now apparently, according to a news article I read yesterday, is going to be being pushed back again until like October or November. But they're also considering just releasing it like straight to Hulu instead of having it come out to theaters now, because they just don't think it's that good of a movie. So
what does that leave us with then for the X-Men universe? I mean, at this point, it's just up in the air. Like nothing is really in stone.
No, it's Dark Phoenix and New Mutants are basically finished. So once those come out, I think that's kind of like hands rubbing themselves of the X-Men franchise, passing it off to Disney, and then it's entirely up to Disney by then.
So this may be a question you don't know the answer to, but do you believe that the reason those were pushed back is because they are going back over that film and incorporating it into the greater MCU? Or do you believe this will be sort of the last one of the Fox genre, and then they're going to draw the line in the sand and be like, okay, now hereafter everything is MCU?
Right. That's some of the rumors I've heard is that they are pushing it back just to kind of like Fox is trying to make as much money as they can on the way out. Fox executives, producers of those movies, etc., that probably won't be producers on the new X-Men movies, are trying to make as much money as they can on the way out. So they've been trying to space out the 2 remaining X-Men movies as far as possible, so that when those hit the box office, people will have been so hungry for a new X-Men movie, perhaps, that they spend a lot of money, they make the most money possible, and then they're like, okay, Disney, it's you now. We don't care. We've released our movies. So that's one rumor I've heard. I've also heard what you just suggested, that they would be incorporating it into the MCU. And I honestly would be okay with that. I think that X-Men has a really strong cast right now with Michael Fassbender, James McAvoy, Jennifer Lawrence, Sophie Turner, Cody Smith-McPhee, Ty Sheridan, all of these people who are basically playing the young versions of the X-Men characters. I mean, they just set up the new universe basically in last year's Apocalypse. So if we only get Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix with these 2, with these characters that I really like, these actors that I really like playing these characters, I'm going to be pretty upset. I hope they do roll them in. I mean, Marvel has where they can do anything they want to right now with the Infinity Gauntlet. They've set up where they can do literally whatever they want, and the audiences will be cool with it. So hopefully that's something they've been considering, is just like more or less snapping these people into our existence, and it like smashes our universes together, because I think that would also create the dichotomy that the X-Men comic books have always been famous for, of people really hating mutants and the X-Men, but they love superheroes. That would also create that dichotomy immediately of them being like, oh, well, we're superheroes. And they're like, you're not superheroes. This isn't your universe. You're mutants. You're mutated versions of us. You're from a different universe. Go home. Go away. And so I think that would create that very easily, and it would retain the same big A-list actors that they have right now. It would also make every X-Men movie so far now part of the MCU, which I think would be a very smart idea for them to do. And I hope that they're considering that. I think all things put aside, it's probably going to end up being another Spider-Man situation where they're like, okay, yep, you know what? No problem. We'll just make our own. And so they're just going to recast everybody, I think.
I hope not. I like what you just said there. And that was something I was going to mention, is that, and I do not say this lightly, because I do not know if I believe this for literally any other franchise out there, but what we've received over our lifetime in the X-Men universe, if the MCU were just like, oh yeah, that was totally in the MCU. Like, we're totally going to wrap that in. We'll just throw in a few little witty remarks here and there from the Avengers about those mutants that no one pays attention to, and we'll throw in some witty remarks about how the mutants don't even pay attention to what's happening with the superheroes because they have their own problems to deal with, and then everybody's satisfied and we're one big happy universe. Like, I would actually be A-okay with that, only because the X-Men movies, I think, have done very well throughout the years. I mean, I know there were a few that were kind of hit or miss, but I would be absolutely fine with them just absorbing that entire everything that goes with it.
Yeah, and I was really sad too. I was a staunch believer of, like, I wanted to keep the X-Men separate because I felt like the X-Men movies just hit their stride with X-Men First Class and Logan and Deadpool, and I felt like they were really just like getting to the top of the game that they've been at. And now to just be like, okay, like they're at their top, and then just to come crumbling down so fast would suck. And so I hope they don't do that. I think that they might, because they've technically already killed off Wolverine in this universe, and he is the number one most bankable star of the X-Men. And so Marvel is not going to want to just not have Wolverine be an X-Men.
So you're classifying Deadpool as being in the greater X-Men universe, like cinematic universe. Like, not, we know obviously that they're all comic book are in the same universe, but cinematically, you give it that.
He is. I mean, Ryan Reynolds played Deadpool in X-Men Origins Wolverine. And then in Deadpool 2, there's a very quick, I mean, it's a joke, but it's a very quick joke where
they open the door.
Yeah, it opens the door. It has all of the X-Men characters in it. I think that can be explained away by Wade Wilson lives in his own head. So he can be talking to the camera, making all kinds of references. Like, everything that we know to be real can be explained away in that universe as, well, Wade Wilson's crazy. He has this entire universe in his head where he thinks people are watching us in these big budget movies and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know. See, I got too deep, I guess, into the politics of those movies where they were like trading rights for characters and like, well, let me bum Colossus if you get this guy for a while. And like, when anytime you're willing and dealing on the production level, in my brain, I go, okay, we're obviously dealing with two different teams here, So, but you're right. I mean, it does make sense. It all explains itself. They feature in each other's movies. But I would have said Deadpool is basically its own standalone thing with some very heavy nods to the obvious universe that it has spun out of.
Yeah, I mean, it's been said that Deadpool is he's in the greater X-Men universe. So he's a part of it. It might be two entirely different teams making them, but Deadpool is a part of like the bigger X-Men universe as it stands right now. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen in the next like 5 years, but as it stands now, he's the Deadpool movies are in like the X-Men universe.
And old Deadpool is a rated R movie, obviously, which is and would be the only one up until this point in the MCU, if it gets absorbed, that they are just throwing around R ratings on, correct?
Right.
And then we also talked about, you and I, a bit off air, that the Black Widow movie may end up being rated R as well.
Yes, and I was telling you that I think that is a very good like soft test for a character who's not as bankable as Deadpool, to see if people turn up for an MCU movie that's rated R. If not, they don't lose that much money. If so, great, Deadpool's rated R now. I think it's a very good soft test for them. I think they also kind of put out that Once Upon a Deadpool movie, which was rated PG-13, as another soft test to be like, well, maybe people will like PG-13 Deadpool. Luckily, that movie tanked. Nobody went to go see it. And so they're like, okay, no PG-13 Deadpool. Got it.
That was basically just a heavily edited version of Deadpool, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, somebody basically said they added in like 6 minutes of new scenes, but other than that, it was basically like watching the TV version of Deadpool 2.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought it was, which is why I didn't even look at it a second time. But yeah, I mean, if Black Widow is a period piece with Hawkeye, then it almost is assuredly a gritty war movie.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, especially if they're in not Boca Raton but
Budapest.
Budapest, then I mean, it just makes sense. Like, I would like for it to be a true, like, Band of Brothers style, like, down to earth, gritty Rogue One, like, war movie. You know, I think that would fit Black Widow and Hawkeye very well. And I'm sort of assuming that Hawkeye is going to be in that story, because if that is the plot, then he would have to be. And that's the plot I want to see the most. But it truthfully could be any movie.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything.
Past.
Do what?
She has a crazy past, you know. I mean, she was once a bad guy, so.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about Hawkeye being included in that movie. I don't think it's going to be Budapest. Maybe somewhere in the trilogy, I'm assuming that they'll make, because every Marvel movie so far has been a trilogy. They'll get to Budapest, but I think in this first one, it's just going to be more Black Widow specific.
Maybe it will be the entire arc, right? Maybe it'll be like the first movie is her as more of an anti-hero, where she's like she's an assassin and she's doing the bad guy thing, and she's starting to come around a little bit. And then by the time you get to movie 3, you know, Hawkeye was sent to assassinate her, but gave her another chance, and then brings her fully over into the light. So maybe it's a dark, not necessarily a heroic movie, but more of a hero's journey almost to becoming a hero through the course of 3 movies.
I would love to see that, because we haven't seen that yet. We've only seen people who in their first movie accept their fate as a superhero, and then they're just superheroes. I would love to see like an anti-hero version of Black Widow first that's slowly tempted over to the good side.
All right. Talk to me about Fantastic Four.
Well, now, along with Disney purchasing Fox, they get all the X-Men rights back. They also get the rights back to Fantastic Four. And as we know, there's been, I enjoyed the old movies. I enjoyed Fantastic Four and Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer. But the newest Fantastic Four movie that came out, I believe in 2015, stylized as Fant Four Stick, was just absolutely terrible. It was not very good. I couldn't believe what I was watching. I thought the movie had another 45 minutes and it just ended, because the final fight scene as it stands in the movie right now, I thought was not a final fight scene. I was like, oh, this is just like their introductory fight, and then there's going to be a little bit more movie, and then there's going to be a real final fight. Nope, that was the final fight. So that one wasn't very good. So I am very excited for Marvel to get the rights back to Fantastic Four and to be able to make a Fantastic Four movie in the MCU. Some people have already said that they're kind of like, they thought that they were going to get the rights back to Fantastic Four, so they've been putting in like little inklings of stuff. For instance, one theory my friend has is that the Avengers Tower, which we saw Tony selling and then eventually purchased by someone who we don't know yet in Spider-Man Homecoming, was actually purchased by Mr. Fantastic and is going to be turned into the Baxter Building, which is the headquarters of the Fantastic Four.
That would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to some awesome Fantastic Four stuff coming down the pike. They have not had their due recently, at least not for the new generation, because like you said, in our lifetime, we have gotten a couple of good Fantastic Four movies. And that's me saying good. Maybe not necessarily everyone else in the world saying good. But we've at least had that in our life. But there's a whole generation of people now that have grown up with superhero movies in the MCU. And, you know, they never got to see Clobber in time.
Yeah, and the closest they got was Ben Grimm's older brother saying it's clobbering time before physically assaulting him as a child, and then for some reason him saying that for no reason in a final fight. So yeah, hopefully this one does it just a little bit better.
Yeah, just a little bit better. That's all we ask.
I've seen a lot of really cool fan casting going around. I believe the fan cast I've kind of set my eyes on, and I hope that this is who we get, because I think they would make a great Fantastic Four. I've seen John Krasinski thrown around as Mr. Fantastic. Emily Blunt suggested for Invisible Woman and Sue Storm. John Cena actually suggested for Ben Grimm and The Thing, and then either Dave Franco or Zach Efron for Human Torch. I think they would both be really good.
John Cena and oh my goodness, and Franco in a movie together. Yeah, I mean, take my money.
I mean, that John Cena is a good actor, and he would make an incredible Thing.
Yeah. I see where you're going with that. It's almost, yeah. I would just have to see how that one plays out. I can't even put into words what my brain is doing right now with that picture.
I think he'd be really good. But I mean, we're gonna have to see. I'm assuming that they're gonna be able to fast track a Fantastic Four because unlike X-Men, there's not a lot of franchise to go off of. There's not any Fantastic Four movies that were still like in the pipes or anything like that. So I'm assuming within the next 5 years, we're probably going to get a Fantastic Four movie. I think we might start to see the signs that X-Men are coming within the next 5 years. I don't know if we're going to get an X-Men movie in the next 5 years, but I think that some mutations / characters that we know might start popping up in other movies. But I think Fantastic Four is probably going to be pretty fast-tracked. And I saw somebody, it wasn't even like a theory, it was just a cool thing this guy was talking about. He's like, what if when Marvel was announcing Phase 3, they basically took an hour and announced all of the Phase 3 movies at one time just a few years ago, which was really cool. I was watching like live tweets as they came in. It was really cool. They're like, what if they do something like that similar for Phase 4 at Comic-Con? They announce all the movies, people are freaking out, and then there's just a title on screen and it says Phase 4, and Kevin Feige's like, oh yeah, there was just one other thing. And then we see the Phase 4, we see the phase kind of fade away, and the 4 lights up in flames and has the circle drawn around it, which is the Fantastic Four symbol that they're famous for. And then he's like, oh yeah, Fantastic Four is coming as well.
That would be super cool, but I think we all really want to see Scarlet Witch versus Phoenix.
Well, I would love to. That would be awesome.
We need.
And I think that if they smash universes together or however they do mutations, one of the biggest storylines to come up in recent years in comic books was Avengers versus X-Men. And I think that would be an awesome Avengers movie to come out where they still don't like trust each other. They don't know, and have a big, giant, huge Avengers versus X-Men movie where at the end of it, they learn that like, oh, hey, we're fighting this fight together. Whatever was manipulating them or making them think that they weren't on the same page is taken care of. They team up. And then so we see some of the X-Men folded into the Avengers, like Wolverine, Cyclops, whoever. And then we see the X-Men be like, okay, we're going to go be a force for good in our own little part of the universe. And so they take their franchise.
Well, I mean, I think that's ideal.
Yeah, I agree. Man, my mouth is very dry.
Yes. I've gotten chills like 3 times in this episode just thinking about all the awesome things.
Yes, there's a million cool things to come. And I'm sure once Avengers Endgame comes out, we'll have a podcast specifically about Endgame. It'll be cool to revisit some of these Endgame theories we've talked about in this episode for that podcast. See if Crocker had some good stuff to say, if I had some good stuff to say, whatever ends up coming out in Endgame, we'll just have to revisit it and talk about it then. But we thank you guys for listening. We hope you had a fun time speculating with us. Again, if you want to win the Thor Ragnarok digital code, all you got to do is comment below with the word KORG, K-O-R-G, or send it to me at ScruffyMovies on Instagram in a direct message. We will get you all entered into a big drawing, and we will draw one name, get you your free code. So please enter that. We hope you guys enjoy. Please follow us on Instagram at ScruffyMovies.
And Crockalicious.
I was waiting for it. Please like, comment, and subscribe on this video. We hope you had a fun time, and we can't wait to see you all next week.